Good afternoon. It is around the middle of May, around May 12th, and it's time to plant. Because there is no danger of frost, or I don't think there's a danger of frost, usually after the 10th of May, it's time to take the plants that I dug up last fall using my ground bag method and put them back in the ground. Now they've gotten a head start, as you can see, and they've even got some little figs on them. These have actually been out in the sun. I've had to acclimate them to the sun, so they haven't been in the greenhouse very much at all. But they're ready now. I would, shuffle them back in and out of the shed during those cold nights and protect them, because it was much too early to plant figs in the ground early in the month, especially this year, because it's been such a cold spring. And so I protected the figs, and now I'm getting ready to put them back in the ground. Now here you can see where I have logs in the ground so people wouldn't fall in the holes. I didn't want to throw them back in. And my yard's pretty big and there's not a lot of people around, so I can get away with those things. Here's another place where I'll be putting one. Time to dig them back in. You can see it's a pretty sizable hole. And here's a tree. I just thought I'd make mention of this. It's pretty interesting, really. But this is the only one that survived the winter without being covered. And this one is Lebanese red. Not red Lebanese, not to be confused with Lebanese BV. And it survived. It's a very, very winter hardy fig. And it's in a ground bag, believe it or not, which you can also see down here. You can see the outline of it. And I left it in for the winter. I wanted to see what would happen for this one. And it held up pretty good. And it's going to fruit for me. The others I dug up, which I always do, and I've got quite a few other holes in the ground over there on the other side of my greenhouse. This one I think I was going to demonstrate how I do the ground bag, how I prepare it for the ground. Because this one's going to go in the ground too. I just don't have room enough to grow too many figs, and it's so hard to keep them in containers and keep them from blowing down in the wind. And they dry out so fast, and when you have so many of them, it's a good method to just, and I'll show you how I do it, just about 4 inches from the ground level, or the dirt level, the upper dirt level, just cut a 2-inch hole. Very simple. Pull it out. Can't do it with one hand. There we go. And spin it around and do another. And do another. Now you don't want to do any on the very bottom of the fig. You don't want to do that. Because if you do down here, and if your intentions are to dig it up in the fall, you're not going to be able to do it, because the roots will get lodged so tightly into the lower portion under the fig tree that you won't be able to get it up, and you won't be able to get a shovel under there. It'll be a nightmare for you. So I don't put any holes on the bottom. But I sometimes go down a little further than 4 inches. I might alternate like this. 4 inches, maybe 6 inches, and then 4 inches, and then maybe 6 inches. And zigzag across the bag. Doesn't matter how many you do. The more the merrier. And once you get your holes in the bag, You simply plant it in the ground up to level. That's it. And the roots will come through these holes quickly. And they'll get established in the dirt, and they will taste so much better than in a container. They'll taste like trees that are actually in-ground trees, because they are in ground. And these containers, and don't do this with plastic. It doesn't work as well. I definitely would advise you not to do it. Just the bags, the ground bags, fabric. And because the tree is still being restricted, the roots are being restricted by most of the bag, you're going to get a higher production of figs. And everyone knows a lot about figs, that when you constrict the figs roots, for some reason, they produce so much more fruit. And that's a wonderful thing. So for all of those reasons, they don't blow down when there's a storm. You don't have to water them as much in their containers when they're in the ground. They're solid, their roots will spread, they'll be more vigorous, they'll be far more productive than just in a container, easier to maintain in every single way. And you can dig them up in the fall and protect them and give them shelter, put them in a protected area, and you won't lose them to the ground. Those are all good reasons to use the ground bag method, as I have done successfully. And now it's time to remove these logs and start to dig and put these trees back in for the summer. I've given them a head start, as I've already mentioned, and that's an important thing. You're not putting them back in the ground in early May or in April when the ground is cold and wet and detrimental to the figs. You don't want to do that. That's a bad thing. You definitely don't want to do that. And the whole idea of the ground bag method is to take advantage of the early start that you can give them using this method, and then put them in the ground where they're low maintenance and high production. This is what you want to do. And you get more figs, and you have to tend to them less. So a little lesson. Hey there, little fella. Hey, there's my little friend. You gonna help me plant these trees? Because it's a lot of work for me. It's a lot of work. You wanna give me a little hand? Oh, my little helper. All right, well, with that, just thought I'd give you a little example of how I do this. It's time for me to get to work. Thank you for your visit. Good day.